Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fully Charged Show podcast. There's a lot of interesting news in the world. That's not a very good introduction. I had it all worked out before I started recording, and now it's all gone a bit wibbly-wobbly. Just quickly want to say, before I start anything else, that we are now almost indecently excited about the show we will be running in Amsterdam at the end of November. It's looking really, really exciting. It's got so much bigger than the first one we did there last year. This is a really considerable increase in size and in scope and in number of vehicles that are on display and available for test drives. Really exciting. It's going to be at the Rye in Amsterdam on, and he checks his dates to make sure it says the right thing, 24th, 25th, and 26th of November. And we've got an award ceremony on the 24th, the evening of the 24th. And there's going to be a lot of news about that hitting the fully charged and everything electric airwaves in the very near future. That said, today's episode is about what I think it's fair to say the original automotive company, Mercedes Benz. And I am very happy to be talking to Dimitris Psillakis, who is the CEO of Mercedes Benz USA, about what is happening in the United States with Mercedes, the innovations they've got, the new technologies they're introducing, the new models they're introducing. And I'd done my research before we started, and he still caught me out a couple of times where I went, oh my God, I'd forgotten about that, or I didn't know about that one. So they're doing a lot. And by 2030, still maintaining itself as an important date in this world, by 2030, every single Mercedes that you can buy, if you're in a position to buy one, there will be a 100% electric version of every single car they've ever made. No, not they've ever made, but that they're making at that time. So that is very good news. And Dimitris is very charming gentleman, and it's a fascinating conversation, very wide-ranging. Goes beyond just mere sort of corporate image brand loyalty. But you know what I mean. It's a proper conversation. So I really hope you enjoy this. Do please subscribe to the Fully Charged Show podcast if you haven't already. And do have a look at the Fully Charged Show on YouTube, as well as the Everything Electric Show, also on YouTube. And check out our live shows and all the other stuff we do, which is easy to find on our webpage, which is fullycharged.show. Very easy address to remember. And that's all I wanted to say before we start this podcast. So please welcome to the Fully Charged Show podcast, Dimitris Psillakis. So Dimitri, thank you very much for finding the time to talk to us today. This is really, I just find the company that you work in fascinating, because effectively, I'm sure I'm wrong, and I'm sure someone will correct me, but I always think of Mercedes as really the first car company, the originator of the motor car. You know, that's where it came out of. That I've seen a recreation of that original machine, which was extraordinary. When I'm not sure, you don't have to worry if you don't know the history, but it was a long time ago when Mrs. Benz went for a ride in the single cylinder.
Correct. No, Rob, I'm very happy to be here with you today, and I think that's a good starting point, actually, as Mercedes Benz claims and is the inventor of the automobile, and that was back 1886 when Mercedes Benz did the first ride on this tricycle, the first internal combustion engine. So we're proud of our history, and I think we're also proud recreating history over the last 137 years.
Yeah, no, it is a remarkable history, and what I think my claim to nothing at all, but my experience is I have still never driven a combustion Mercedes car. Been in loads because you get rides in them, but I've never driven one. I've only driven electric Mercedes, which is bizarre. It wasn't planned. It's just the way it worked out. And they were both exquisite vehicles to be in, I've got to say. And I don't, I raved about them when I was in them. I just was blown away by the quality and the the design of them. They are extraordinary machines.
So then I think one is too late to indulge you on internal combustion engine vehicles. On the other hand, you are very young if you've only driven the electric Mercedes vehicles. But the summary you did is good. We look for not only the technology on the propulsion, but also technology in the vehicle. And I think the innovation should come with the electric vehicles of Mercedes are quite substantial.
Yeah, because I mean, I think this is the thing that really interests me is that the challenge of an existing automotive company like Mercedes that has built combustion engine cars for we now know like 140 years or something crazy, to make that transition to a completely different. I mean, there's a lot of different thinking. You know, you can say you could, you know, if you were an alien, look at a combustion engine Mercedes and an electric one, and it's quite hard to tell the difference. They kind of look roughly the same. They've got four wheels, they've got windows and glass, steering wheel, seats, front and back. But the underneath that is such a different technology and such different skills needed to create that. I mean, that's got to be, I don't know how hard that is to do that transition in a big company, but I'm guessing it's not easy.
I think technology and development and innovation for Mercedes, it's part of our DNA.
Yeah.
So looking backwards, I think we're the brand with the most patents and most innovations and technologies which were brought first in the automobiles. So we've always been experimenting with different technologies. When talking about internal combustion, so we had such great technologies when it came to diesel, for example, right? We had experimented with rotary engines, we had experimented with electric hydrogen engines. So Mercedes-Benz is always on the forefront of technological advancements. So when the move, or let's say the push also from the regulators came to cleaner vehicles, or even to zero emission vehicles, Mercedes-Benz had invested and continue investing hard to get once more the forefront of these technologies. And we're proud today to have, at least in the US, 5 different electric vehicles in the market, right? So technology and innovation is in the DNA of our brand.
Yeah. And so that's because I've driven the EQS and the EQE. Those are the two I've driven. We have.
SUVs. Was it the sedan or the SUV that you drove?
Well, it was the SUV first, which I think of. I'm going to get you correct me, because I thought that the SUV was the EQS. Is that right, or is it not?
Big one, right?
Yeah, big. Yeah,
exactly. That's the SUV, correct?
Right, and then the EQE was the sedan.
Right.
Which was amazing. Which has got this rear wheel steering.
Exactly, it's amazing.
Yeah.
This is
incredible.
Great.
Yeah. I love the rear.
When I drive, I mean, I'm driving obviously this vehicle, and I say this has the turning circle of a London taxi.
Yeah, does it really? Is that tight? Wow. Okay.
Tight. That's tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But I haven't driven. So the one that really blew us away on the show, which I haven't seen or driven, but Jack did, was the EQX X, which I know is not a production vehicle, but just the fact that this is basically, you remind me of it because of the technological development. But I've now driven enough electric cars, and I understand how many miles or kilometers you can do with 1 kilowatt hour of energy. And nothing I've ever driven has got anywhere near what that car. That is, it's magic. It's just extraordinary. I mean, that is I don't know what's happening with that car. Presumably, whatever you've developed in that can feed into many different models.
Absolutely. The EQX X was a concept car, but was developed in 2 years, and it's including technologies which were tested and which are coming into our future cars. Having said that, we launched our concept CLA in Munich just a couple of weeks back.
Yes, yeah, which I don't know much about. So tell me about that. Yeah,
this is going to come in the market in 2025, and this is the vehicle which is bringing some of the technologies which were developed and proven in the EQX X. Battery technology and other stuff are coming in, which means our CLA will have really a record-breaking range. So it's projected to go over 600 kilometers of range. So
I mean, I think that's because I think what's interesting about that is, and I'm hoping this catches on as a sort of marketing thing or as a thing that we all discuss with electric cars, is not so much how big the battery is, but how little energy is used to move the vehicle along, because those two things are in constant balance. We could end up with smaller batteries, but the cars go further.
I think this is the aim of our engineers, is to have smaller batteries with better performance, so giving a bigger range and with lower charging times.
Yeah.
So to make it more convenient. And I think on the CLA, on the new CLA, which will come again in the market in 2025, we made strides, and this is really a very good performing vehicle in terms of range and charging time.
Right. Because then that's the other one that I know you've announced is okay. Let me just take one step back, because one of the things that blew me away when I test drove the EQS in Norway, and we drove along. We did a long drive in a day. We did a long drive, and we all stopped at a charging station somewhere outside Oslo. I don't know where it was. And the whole point was that we could drive up to the charger, plug it in, walk away, do nothing, because the charger recognized the car and vice versa, blah, blah, blah. Which was the first time I've seen that outside of Tesla's walled garden network. And it worked beautifully in that. And obviously this had been arranged beforehand, but that whole argument about how at this time, and we're talking, well, I don't know when that was released, but a few years ago, that was exceptional to be able to do that. And it was all the struggle with public charging was still really raw then. You had to have the app and join the thing and all those problems. It's got better, I think, since then. But are you now on a journey to develop your own a kind of Mercedes charging network? Is that something that's on the cards?
Yeah, that's the path. We're driven by the fact that we want to offer convenience to our customers, and convenience means three things. First, obviously, as much as possible, good performance, so long range, short charging times, convenience of finding the next charging station and connecting to the charging station in the easiest way. And our vehicles, either through the app, Mercedes Benz app, or through the head unit, can indicate and can plan actually your next stations according to the destination you have placed, and according to the road conditions, the traffic, the weather. They tell you when you need and where you can charge, and it gives you also all the information of the charging stations, if they are high power, if they are 60 kilowatts, 100 kilowatts, 350 kilowatts, whatever. So that helps you to plan your travel accordingly, and obviously the time to the destination. Now, the next step we're taking there is building our own proprietary, let's say, Mercedes Benz charging network. And United States, North America is the first country to bring this E-Star network. Actually, in fact, at the backyard here in our headquarters in Atlanta, we'll have the first station being inaugurated in mid-November. And these are charging stations, fully branded, which offer, away from charging your vehicle, they offer also convenience. So there's a small lounge, and there is a restroom. So the charging experience is on a higher level. This charging network will be open to all brands, but obviously our vehicles, our customers would have a preferential treatment on that one.
Oh, that's really good that you're doing that, though. I think it's the two things I think that from our discussions with the public and our presentations and the response to our shows is the initial cost of buying the vehicle, which is completely understandable. There's no argument with that. But then it is, and this is people who've never had an electric car, never driven one. But the other one is the reliance on charging, and that's, or the anxiety. It's not. I think range anxiety is gone. I think that's finished. But charging anxiety is still lingering, and that is definitely a challenge for the whole industry and for communicators like us to kind of deal with.
I fully agree with you on that, and take into account that in US, home charging is very popular, right? So, and this is basically the best experience because you don't have to deal with gas stations and gas pumps. You just come back home, you plug, and you have the charge that you need. I have personally driven a lot around the US with my electric vehicle, and I hadn't had difficulties in finding my charging stations. I think it's worth noticing that we did as a company, we did what we call EQ Expedition. EQ is our brand for electric vehicles. And we started here in Atlanta. We ended up in Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, right.
Traveling across the country, 3 vehicles, less than a month, 10,000 miles, visiting 65 dealerships. And that was a very pleasant and eye-opening and fear, actually, free expedition with the electric vehicle. So I think my message here is you need to live the experience of an electric vehicle. You need to use the vehicle and the convenience it's offering you to get away from this concern of where should I charge, how far can I go. It's much better at the end than how you feel or how you are told.
Yes, I know it's the hardest thing to communicate to someone who's never used it and doesn't know about it, is to say, honestly, it's not. I mean, I've been driving electric cars in the UK since 2009. Back then, believe me, there was no charging network. Yes. I learnt the hard way. There was nowhere to. You had to borrow someone's extension cable and use that. But then you've mentioned one thing there, which is clearly an interesting aspect of this that hadn't occurred to me before I started out on this journey. But car dealerships, I don't know what the arrangement is, but I don't know how Mercedes work with. So I've done talks for both Nissan and Renault in Europe for not for the cars or anything. It was for the dealerships. It was talking to the people who run the dealerships about using electric vehicles and about that this was a few years ago, but it was really to kind of say there are customers for these vehicles. This was in the early days when the Renault Zoe and the Nissan Leaf first came out, and the dealers just didn't want to know. They weren't interested. And the difference, just very briefly, there was one dealership in Edinburgh where the company there had sold, I think, over 700 Renault Zoes, and there was one in another town in the south of England where he'd never sold one, and he wouldn't let them in his showroom. He didn't want them. But that challenge for the manufacturers is really a real thing. I don't know. I mean, can you, because you obviously went around a lot of dealerships then, is there generally enthusiasm for the electric Mercedes?
I would say there are mixed feelings there, right? And you have always parts of the country or parts of the world or countries, states where mindset for electric vehicles is more advanced, and there's parts of the country or parts of the world where you have less interest and even pushback on electric vehicles. This is a situation also in the US. We have, for example, California, or we have even parts of California, which the demand for electric vehicles is very high. We even have dealerships where the share today between electric vehicle and ICE is 50-50 or 40 to 60, which is remarkable. And we have other parts of the country where it's basically 2-3%, 5%, right? So this inequality exists. But what we see more and more is that people are more asking, customers are asking for the electric vehicle, but still the fear of how far can I go? And how often can I find a charging station? And what's the experience of charging my vehicle still exists, and it's a headache, right? Because obviously public infrastructure is lacking behind, right? There are efforts and there's programs going forwards, but still it's not as visible as obviously the existing convenience and habits of the gas stations being in every corner and being 24 hours open. But coming to the charging infrastructure, which is for us very important, because again, as I said earlier, we want to offer convenience. We want to if the customer is willing to make the step forward or the change to an electric vehicle, we want to make sure that he has the best experience. Away from our own proprietary charging network, which we discussed a little bit earlier, we are also have joined along with another 6 major world's manufacturers who have joined, and will develop our own charging network in North America, with about 30,000 chargers in the next years, right? 30,000 points of charging.
Right.
And last but not least, we have announced that our vehicles as of 2024 will be capable of charging at the Tesla network.
Yes. Yeah.
That being said, basically, literally, our vehicles, so whoever is buying a Mercedes Benz electric vehicle today and in the future, he has access to every available charger in North America. I think this is a big step forward when it comes to convenience, when it comes to supporting the customer overrule or jump over his fear of having limited access to chargers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to become, it basically has to happen, doesn't it? It's as simple as that. That there were, and those businesses have to be able to make money that are supplying the chargers. They've got to be profitable. They've got to be, but in order to be profitable, I think the thing that as a driver I'm demanding is reliability, availability, and lack of friction to use their. If I want to be able to buy electricity as easy as I buy a liter of milk. It's got to be. It's just stuff. I want to buy some of your stuff. Why have I got to? I don't want to join anything. I just want to buy it. Then you can see that if you're, I'm a regular user of one public charger in the UK, and I have joined that company because it's easier to use their system because I go there regularly. But it's a long and painful journey, I think. But I think it feels like we're getting there both here in the UK, in Europe, and in North America. I mean, that's.
And coming back to the dealers and our dealer network is part of our transformation process, right?
Right.
We are the manufacturer; they are the face to our customers. They do a great job. So it's on us to jointly move forward to this transformation. And they have put a lot of effort and a lot of investments in training themselves, in building the right infrastructure at the dealerships, with high power charging stations for the customers, for charging the vehicles before delivery, right? For the convenience when the vehicle is maintained, serviced in our dealerships. We have loaners, which are electric vehicles with our network. So it's a joint effort. We say that moving to full electrification, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And we run this marathon together with our dealers. And it's a long way. We need stamina and we need to take the right steps at the right time.
Yeah. Now, that's a very good point, because I think there's a lot of sort of background panic sometimes of people who haven't gotten it, or say, I want an electric car, I can't afford it. I go, calm down, you're all right, don't worry. It'll happen. It's not going to be, it's not all, we can't transform that. It's a huge, when you think of, I don't even want to know what the numbers are, but the amount of combustion engine vehicles we have built that are on the road today are in the world, it is staggering. The numbers are mind-boggling, aren't they? So to transform all those overnight to electric, that's not going to happen.
No, and it's not also. It's impossible to happen because we need the charging network.
Yeah,
we need the energy, the grid capacity for that. So it takes years to get into that, and this is also our effort to have a smooth transition to a full electric vehicles.
Yeah. But then the other area that I would love to touch on, if we can, is, well, certainly the Sprinter vans. So I mean, we've seen those have become very popular in London because they're used as sort of, particularly by hotels and by taxi firms, and there's lots of companies using those. Is that, I don't know, is that happening in the USA as well? I'm not
Correct.
aware of.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do. We have announced, and actually we're launching now in 2024 our electric Sprinter.
Right.
This will be produced both in the US at our factory in South Carolina, but also in Germany in our factory there. And this is a great product, using obviously electric vehicle technology and having a very good range. So we say that our full range of vehicles is electrified, because entering with the electric Sprinter, we have also our vans electrified.
Yeah. And what about bigger? I mean, is there development in much bigger vehicles, in heavy duty trucks and things? I don't know what Mercedes are up to in Germany. I mean, I've sort of read some reports. I haven't seen anything for definite.
It's happening. You know that since a couple of years we split our company.
That's right. Sorry.
Daimler has split it to Daimler Trucks and to Mercedes Benz AG. So we have two different companies. But yes, they are developing. They're very fast, and they're much ahead with electric trucks.
Right. And then the other, I was attending an event recently with a lot of fleet managers in the UK who are, and it was a really interesting discussion because they are buying electric vehicles, and this harps back a little bit to dealerships, but they're buying them because of the for economics. They're buying them because they are more expensive up front, but they're cheaper to run. And these are companies that have 400, 500, 600 vehicles on their fleets. But they are charging them at their headquarters. They're installing a lot of solar at their headquarters. They're seeing a return on all that stuff. I don't know if that affects you, but one of the things they said, which I thought was interesting, was the reduction in servicing costs, because they've also run thousands of combustion cars in the past historically. So they have very accurate spreadsheets that tell them exactly what these vehicles all cost, how long the tires last, how long the brakes last, all those things. And they are seeing, the brakes last longer on an electric car. The tires don't last less long. They last about the same. They're replacing tires at about the same rate, but their engine servicing costs are hugely reduced, as in all the spare parts you need for an internal combustion engine, which must affect the bottom line of dealerships. I mean, that's clearly something I've heard a few times, that you sell a combustion car, you know that in the next 3 to 4 years you're going to earn money from servicing that vehicle, very likely from the customer, to keep that customer happy. But I've had electric cars long enough now to know I have never replaced the oil or the cooling fluid or a head gasket or a muffler, or a fan belt. They just don't have them.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, this is true. So maintenance is much lighter on an electric vehicle than internal combustion engine one. But still, two things. One, you have, and we have, a big car park of internal combustion engine vehicles, and still we do sell, and there is a vast majority of today's and tomorrow's sales are internal combustion engine vehicles. So this car park lives long, or still it's, I would say, in a growth. On the other hand, you have the electric vehicles coming in with less maintenance, but still the vehicles have accidents. Still, you need to do minor repairs. Still, you have elements which are related to the electronics, where today's vehicle are much heavier, let's say, and we have both convenience coming from the over-the-air updates, which save time and give convenience to the customer, not having to drive into a workshop for basic fixings. But there are also certain upgrades which are chargeable, right? So I would say it's a change. It's a mixture of things that you lose and things that you maintain and things that you gain in future. Moving again to a product which is not like in the past, just purely mechanical, let's say, and internal combustion, but today to a product which is electric and digital and
Yes.
and techy, right? So it's a change, but
Yeah.
I would not say that there is at the end an imbalance. It's a new balance which will be found.
Right. And that leads me on to because the technology in modern cars is so, it's amazing. I think because although I'm not, you were very kind to say I'm not that old. I am quite old, and I can remember how incredibly crude the early cars I drove were in the 1970s, how basic and how analog they were, and how unreliable they were, and how and this has got nothing to do with electric. I mean, cars have got so much more reliable. Combustion engines now are stunningly reliable, last a long time, and particularly as Mercedes have a very good reputation with that. But I think there are certainly elements of our viewership who wish for for the choice of a simpler car. That basically is with modern electric technology to drive it along, but really a speedometer. That's all they want. They don't want anything else, which I can sort of understand in a way. I mean, I do appreciate having other technologies. Sat-nav's been amazing, but there is that. I mean, and I sort of think that is not where Mercedes. That's not you're not going to make this the super simple, stripped down non-luxury vehicle. I think it's not really in your DNA, is it, to do that?
But I think, Rob, convenience is part of luxury, right? Giving time back to the driver, or making the life in the vehicle easier. It's part of luxury. It's part of what customers are seeking for, and especially they seek out of our brand. So maybe I can give you a couple of examples. I'm sure you know that we're the first brand which has launched and has certified and launched level 3 SAE driving system, both in Europe and in the US. We have now 2 states, California and Nevada, which has certified our system for level 3.
And can you just explain what level 3? So this is
Level
semi-autonomous driving, effectively.
Exactly.
Right.
With level 3, and this is defined by the Engineer Society, with level 3, basically the responsibility for driving autonomously is with the vehicle, not with the driver anymore. The today's system that we have in our vehicles, no matter how advanced they are, still the responsibility lies with the driver.
With the driver,
right? You have driver assistance systems which help you, but the responsibility lies with the driver. With our level 3, under specific conditions, in freeways, during the day, with no rain, the vehicle drives autonomously, and you can take the hands off the vehicle and your sight off the road.
Right. Okay.
Hands off.
Eyes off.
Eyes off. Right. You can use your center console or center screen, and you can engage on a video conference. You can drop your emails. You can play a game or whatever. So that's a technological advancement, obviously, for the brand. We have introduced on our vehicles, have this. Maybe you used it in the EQS that you drove, the Hey Mercedes. It's our which is pretty, I would say, easy to use. But this is now enhanced by Chat GPT functions, so you can use that while driving. So coming back, giving time, giving convenience, right, making the driving experience much more relaxed. Whether you are on a traffic situation, which normally you hate because you have to be on a stop and go, or whether you drive on a freeway and you use our ADAS systems, we try to bring convenience. We try to make the driving experience much more easy, much more pleasant, and safe. Right.
Yeah. Because so just to clarify, I think it was California and Nevada, you said, where that's been legislated for. And is that on all roads? It's not just on a freeway. Is it on all roads or on all major roads? Or
it's on freeways. It's basically on a network throughout the state, right? So
Right.
it's throughout the state. It's not in a city, but throughout the state where the roads are fully mapped so that the vehicle can drive fully autonomously.
Right.
But that obviously it's covering 1,000 miles of roads in both states.
Right. I mean, that is a fascinating thing, because that was one of the ones I was going to ask you about, or the autonomous journey. That that is because I'm still. I mean, personally, I'm still torn because I've experienced it and I think it's amazing. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away by that sort of technology. I sometimes wonder, if it's going to, I know I'm going to be wrong. I'm just thinking, will this catch on? I think it probably will in quite a big way. I think once you've experienced it, and when I've experienced hands off, eyes on, and which I've been in driving in the car, it does make a difference. It's bonkers that it does. It doesn't seem that it will, but it does. But I've also been in vehicles that are fully autonomous where I have been in a passenger seat, and there's been someone in the driving seat, and they didn't touch anything, and that it is incredible technology.
So, Robert, we invite you to California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, or to Las Vegas, wherever you can land, and you will not be the co-driver, you will be the driver.
The driver, wow.
Hands-free and eyes-free.
Eyes off. I've never done eyes off. I mean, you've experienced this personally, have you? You've been in these cars, and is it slightly frightening the first time you do it?
Correct. At the beginning, you don't trust, right? So you stay alert. But once you see it acting and reacting in a very smooth and very convenient way, you gain the confidence, and then you move into other functions, which you can do. You can pick up your mobile phone and text and
wow. Yeah, that's good. No, it is extraordinary. So one last thing I'd love to ask you about, which is becoming a really much discussed topic here, is the use of the car when you're not driving it, as in using the power in it. So vehicle to home, vehicle to load, vehicle to grid, all those technologies. Is that something you're investigating, or are you saying that's not for us?
No, absolutely. I think this is the future, and this is something which is also catering for what is highly discussed also here in the US, is the power grids capable of sustaining a high fleet of electric vehicles, which needs to charge. And I think the one of the solutions there is this vehicle to grid, also charging, where you can basically select the time, or according also to tariffs, according to charging price charge, right? Not charge. You can select when you charge your vehicle off peak or on peak. So it's a great technology. Yes, it's been worked with our company, and there are news to come in this direction.
Right. No, that's very, very exciting. And I mean, are there other? Is there any other developments within the Mercedes Benz universe that you can tell us about? I mean, what are there? You don't have to give details, but presumably there are new models in the pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, first of all, I think what's exciting, and as you know, the history of our brands. That we're proud of having in our range of products the iconic G-Class, right? A 40+ year, very special product, and extremely successful also in the US. So the G-Class, this robust off-road vehicle, next year will come with a fully electric version. So we're going to have an EQG, right?
Right.
4 motors, one for each wheel.
Oh, really? Wow.
Great performance. But I think that was already announced a couple of years back. But what has been recently announced by our chairman is that we'll have also a baby G. So
I have heard about this. Yeah.
You heard about that, right? That was a couple of weeks back.
Yeah,
that's going to have the baby G, also fully electric G, or mini baby G-Class, coming out in the future. So we move, and I think the message here is step by step we're electrifying our full portfolio of products, and our claim is that by 2030, basically every product of ours will have its electric sibling or will be fully electric. Meaning,
Right.
if the customer wishes to drive any of our products electric, there's no excuse anymore. You can buy it electric, right?
Yeah. And I mean, do you see a correlation in price in that time? I mean, as in that an electric version will cost the same as a combustion engine version. Is that something that we're approaching? I mean, I've heard so many differing reports, but the latest report about, we're talking wholesale battery costs have come down this year quite substantially. And whether that, that was obviously going to take a while to feed in, but is that something you're seeing on the horizon?
I think all of us, all the manufacturers are working towards this direction. And this is obviously a combination of scale. It's a combination of technologies, right? A combination of where do you source materials and components for the vehicle. And our effort is to come to this cost parity, let's say, between an electric and an internal combustion engine. But we're not yet there. That will take some time, obviously. But we're looking to this moment.
Yeah. But I'm very impressed with what you're doing. And I haven't been to the United States I was in Canada recently in Vancouver, so I haven't been there for a while. So I haven't witnessed the kind of the shifts that I've been told about in terms of public charging, that there's much more of it, that it's more common, and that there's an increase in electric vehicle use and all those things. So I'm going to have to come and visit. And I have to have a go sitting behind the wheel without touching the wheel and without looking where we're going. I'm frightened already, but I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's I mean, I'm obviously European. I have lived in the UK in the past. I'm now in the US since 3 years. But coming over and seeing how the electric vehicles have come into life, especially if you are in the west part of this country, it's impressive. And you'll see products that also are not that much visible in Europe, or not yet in Europe, right?
Yeah.
And you'll see a tendency here for also big cars, whether they are SUVs or trucks or pickups. You'll see several amazing electric vehicle products. So electrification is happening in the US. Again, maybe not in the same speeds in every state, but clearly in the west part of the country, it's on a high rise.
It's big, isn't it? Yeah. It's been great talking to you, Dimitri. Thank you for your time today. It's really good, and I look forward to hearing more from Mercedes in the near future. And it's been very educational for me.
No, Rob, thank you. For me, it was also a pleasure, and thank you for all what you do since many years, right? Supporting this transition to a more environmental friendly mobility in future, very consistently, and touching all ends, whether it is a vehicle, whether it is charging, or even the energy side. So, thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much. I really hope you enjoyed that. It was very kind of Dimitri to carve that time out of his busy day. I mean, he is the boss of Mercedes in America. I think it's important to remember that. He's got quite a lot on. He's busy. And it was so nice to talk to someone in a professionally run studio. I really did appreciate that. That was very good. Please do subscribe, as I said at the beginning of this, and do tell your mates about what we do on this channel, because there's, we're covering a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of amazing episodes coming up soon. But who needs to be waffling about that? That's all I've got time for this time. As always, if you have been, thank you for watching.